It starts with a knock at the door late at night. You open it to find children, ordinary at first glance, but their pitch-black eyes lock onto yours, and a chilling request escapes their lips. Let us in. These encounters aren't isolated, they're happening across the globe. Are these children lost souls, supernatural beings, or something even more sinister? They emerged from the shadows of our collective nightmares in the late 1990s. Reports began surfacing worldwide of strange encounters that would make even the bravest souls question reality. The witnesses all described the same chilling details: children appearing ordinary at first glance, but harboring an ancient darkness within their eyes. These entities, known as the black-eyed children, present themselves as youngsters between 6 and 16 years old. But there's nothing childlike about their presence. Their eyes are endless pools of blackness, devoid of white iris or any trace of humanity. Witnesses describe their speech as eerily monotone and mechanical, their movements unnaturally stiff, as if wearing human skin that doesn't quite fit. They materialize in places where we should feel safest. A knock on your door at midnight, a tap on your car window in an empty parking lot, a silent figure standing at the edge of your property waiting, always waiting. The overwhelming sense of dread they inspire transcends ordinary fear, reaching deep into our primitive instincts that scream danger. Most disturbing are their patterns. They seek invitation, pleading to be let in with voices that sound rehearsed, as if reading from an ancient script. Some ask to use the phone. Others claim to be lost. But all who encounter them report the same visceral reaction, an absolute certainty that allowing them entry would lead to unimaginable consequences. Since their first documented appearance, these encounters have spread across continents, leaving witnesses forever changed. The question remains, what do they want, and why do they wear the guise of innocence? One evening in 1996, on a quiet street in Abilene, Texas, journalist Brian Bethel sat in his parked car near a movie theater, the soft glow of the streetlight illuminating his checkbook. The mundane task of writing a check would soon become a nightmare that would haunt him forever, spawning countless similar tales across the globe. The gentle tap on his driver's side window shattered the silence. Two young boys stood there, perhaps 12 or 13 years old, their faces partially obscured by the shadows. Their polite smiles seemed practiced, almost artificial. Something about their presence made Bethel's skin crawl, though he couldn't explain why. "Mister, we need a ride to our mother's house," one boy said, his voice carrying an unnatural cadence that sent chills down Bethel's spine. "We forgot our money for the movies. She's just a few blocks away." As a veteran journalist, Bethel had interviewed countless people, but never had he felt such primal terror from a simple conversation. His hand trembled on the steering wheel as cold sweat beaded on his forehead. Every instinct screamed at him to flee, despite the seemingly innocent request from these children. Then he saw their eyes. In the harsh glare of the theater's lights, their eyes were bottomless voids, completely black from edge to edge. No whites, no iris, just infinite darkness that seemed to pull at his soul. The boy's rehearsed smile faltered, revealing something ancient and malevolent beneath the childlike features. "You have to let us in," the second boy insisted, his voice growing harder, more demanding. "We can't come in unless you tell us it's okay." Bethel's fingers fumbled with his keys, his heart pounding so hard he could barely hear their increasingly aggressive demands. The temperature in his car plummeted, his breath visible in the suddenly frigid air. The polite pretense was crumbling, revealing something inhuman beneath. With trembling hands, he started the engine. The boys pressed closer to the window, their black eyes now seeming to consume all light around them. As he accelerated away, their faces contorted with otherworldly anger. all pretense of humanity vanishing in an instant. Later, still shaken, Bethel shared his experience online. His detailed account resonated with people worldwide who had buried their own terrifying encounters deep in their memories, too afraid or unsure to speak of them. His story became the catalyst for thousands of others to emerge from the shadows, each bearing the same warning: never invite them in, no matter how convincing their pleas may be. Bethel's encounter marked the beginning of a documented phenomenon that would perplex researchers and terrify witnesses for decades to come, leaving us to wonder how many others had met these entities before him, but were never able to tell their tales. As reports of black-eyed children spread across continents, patterns emerged in their behavior, each encounter more chilling than the last. 3 particularly haunting accounts stand out, suggesting these entities are growing bolder in their attempts to gain entry into our world. On a bitter winter night in Vermont, Sarah Mitchell awoke to an unusual sound. At first, she dismissed the soft tapping as tree branches in the wind, but the rhythm was too deliberate, too purposeful. The knocking grew louder, more insistent, reverberating through her empty house at 3 a.m. Through the frosted glass of her front door, she could make out 2 small silhouettes. "Please let us in," a girl's voice called out, unnaturally clear through the thick door. "We need to use your phone to call our mother." Sarah's hand reached for the doorknob, but something stopped her. Perhaps it was the way their shadows remained perfectly still despite the howling wind, or how the porch light seemed to dim in their presence. When she looked through the peephole, her blood turned to ice. 2 pale faces stared back, their eyes like polished obsidian reflecting nothing. She backed away, her heart pounding. The knocking continued for hours, growing more aggressive until dawn approached. When silence finally fell, Sarah thought it was over. But in the days that followed, her house seemed different. Lights flickered without reason. Electronics failed mysteriously. Sometimes late at night, she still hears soft knocking, though she never sees anyone there. Miles away, on a deserted highway in Montana, truck driver James Cooper lived through his own nightmare. The full moon illuminated a lone figure on the roadside, a boy in a hooded sweatshirt, thumb extended in the universal sign for hitchhiking. James, a father himself, slowed down, concerned about a child alone on such a remote stretch of road. The boy approached with an unnatural grace, his feet seeming to glide over the gravel. "I need a ride to the next town," he said, his voice carrying clearly despite the rumbling engine. "It's not far." James reached for the door handle, then noticed something that made his world tilt sideways. The boy's eyes reflected the moonlight like black mirrors, endless and empty. The boy's expression shifted, something ancient and hungry bleeding through his childlike appearance. "You have to let me in," he insisted, his voice losing its human quality. James floored the accelerator, leaving the creature behind. In his rearview mirror, he swore he saw the boy standing in the middle of the road, still watching, until darkness swallowed him whole. Perhaps most disturbing is the account from the British countryside, where experienced hikers Mary Thompson and Peter Walsh encountered something that defied explanation. Deep in the woods, miles from the nearest town, they were preparing dinner at their campsite when 2 children emerged from between the trees. The children wore outdated clothes, like something from a previous century, yet pristine and unmarked by their surroundings. "We're so hungry," they said in perfect unison, their voices echoing strangely in the still air. "Please share your food with us." Mary noticed their footfalls made no sound on the leaf-strewn ground. No twigs snapped beneath their feet. When she offered them wrapped granola bars, they didn't move to take them. Instead, they stared with those terrible black eyes, insisting they needed to be invited to the campfire first. Peter started packing immediately, his hands shaking so badly he could barely fold the tent. The children watched in silence, their heads turning in perfect synchronization to follow every movement. As the campers hurried away, they heard those young voices calling after them. "You can't leave yet. We're so hungry. So very hungry." These encounters, each unique yet bearing shocking similarities, paint a disturbing picture of entities that seem to prey on human kindness and parental instincts. They appear in moments of vulnerability, always seeking permission to come closer, to be let in. Those who survive these encounters are left with questions that haunt them. What would have happened if they had said yes? What do these beings truly want? And most troubling of all, how many encounters ended with someone letting them in? As accounts of black-eyed children multiply across the globe, researchers and paranormal investigators have proposed various theories to explain these chilling encounters. The truth may lie somewhere in the shadows between reality and imagination, in that twilight realm where our deepest fears take shape. Some demonologists and religious scholars suggest these entities are ancient evil spirits adapting to modern times. They point to the children's compulsion to ask for permission before entering homes or vehicles, noting this mirrors age-old beliefs about demons requiring invitation to cross thresholds. Their emotionless behavior and the overwhelming sense of dread they inspire align with historical accounts of demonic encounters. While their youthful appearance serves as a clever disguise to lower victims' defenses, UFO researchers describe an equally unsettling theory. These children might be extraterrestrial beings attempting to understand and infiltrate human society. Their black eyes mirror descriptions of alien beings in abduction accounts, while their stilted speech patterns suggest beings struggling to mimic human behavior. The electrical disturbances reported during encounters echo technological interference often associated with UFO sightings, hinting at advanced capabilities beyond our understanding. Yet some psychologists offer a different perspective, suggesting these encounters might spring from the depths of our collective unconscious. They argue that there is a sleep condition where people experience waking dreams accompanied by intense fear that could explain some encounters. During these episodes, the brain might construct these eerie children from fragments of cultural fears and urban legends, creating experiences that feel terrifyingly real. The phenomenon might also represent a form of mass hysteria, amplified by internet sharing and our innate fear of the innocent turned sinister. Children traditionally represent purity and innocence, making their corruption particularly disturbing to our psyche. The spread of black-eyed children's stories may tap into this primal fear, creating a self-perpetuating cycle where anxiety and expectation shape real experiences. Perhaps most fascinating is how Brian Bethel's original account spawned a global phenomenon, evolving from a single frightening encounter into a worldwide tapestry of terror. His detailed report provided a template that subsequent encounters would follow, yet each new account adds unique elements while maintaining core features: the black eyes, the requests for entry, the overwhelming sense of wrongness. But skepticism alone cannot explain away the consistency in witness accounts across cultures and continents. People who have never heard Bethel's story report encounters with identical details. The raw fear in their testimonies, the lasting trauma, and the similar physical reactions they describe suggest something more than mere imagination at work. Whether these entities emerge from supernatural realms, outer space, or the darkest corners of human consciousness, one detail remains constant: they continue to appear, testing the boundaries between our world and whatever darkness spawned them. Perhaps the most troubling theory is the simplest. We may never know their true nature because those who discover it never return to tell their tale. Despite decades of encounters, investigations, and endless speculation, the true nature of the black-eyed children remains shrouded in mystery. They continue to emerge from the darkness, testing the boundaries of our reality and challenging our understanding of what lurks in the shadows of our world. Their pattern never varies. They appear when we are most vulnerable, using our compassion against us. Always they seek permission to enter our safe spaces, whether home, vehicle, or campsite. The overwhelming fear they inspire transcends ordinary terror, speaking to something primitive in our souls that recognizes them as fundamentally wrong. Perhaps most chilling is their reaction to rejection. They never force their way in, never break down doors or shatter windows. Instead, they simply vanish, leaving behind only questions and the lingering sensation of a narrowly avoided catastrophe. But one must wonder, do they truly leave, or do they simply wait in the shadows, watching, planning their next attempt? As night falls and shadows lengthen, consider this. What would you do if you heard that gentle knock on your door? If you peered through your window to find two children standing there, their black eyes staring back at you, their voices pleading for help? Would your compassion override your fear? Would you let them in? The next encounter could happen anywhere. Perhaps it will be your story that adds another chapter to this ongoing mystery. Have you ever experienced something similar? Do you know someone who has come face to face with these entities? Share your experiences in the comments below. Tell us what you believe these beings truly are. Are they demons? Creatures from outer space? Something else entirely? Join our community of mystery seekers and help us unravel the truth behind the black-eyed children phenomenon. Remember to subscribe for more chilling tales of the unexplained, and hit that notification bell so you never miss our next venture into the unknown.